is going on? I am Spencer Tillis.
I'm Trayvon Miles.
And this is the Delmarva Sports Insider. Coming up in just a few minutes in this week's episode. Woodbridge was at home this afternoon, but could they compete with a team from upstate Newark?
And a little more north of that, Dover, trying to get their season back on track, hosting Seaford today. Highlights you do not want to miss.
And it was the season opener this afternoon for the 6th-ranked SU baseball team, but how'd they do against Gwinnett Mercy?
What's going on, folks? We are joining you live once again. Get used to it. Jam-packed show as usual, Spencer. First stop being the far north of the Henlopen Conference. Smyrna hosting unbeaten Polytech. Last time these two teams got together mid-January, it was a 2-point game in the fourth, but this one would be a bit different. Javier Worthy with the drive. One of the only things that went well for the Eagles because Polytech began to establish their dominance. Chase Chappelle with the follow. Panthers moving it like they usually do. This time, Jawan Gray to guess who? Devon Mallory, flush after using. Only 4 points for him, and they still rolled. And then Jawan Gray closing the coffin with the oop from Ricky Hoops. 12 points for Gray, 15 for Chappelle, and 10 for Hicks. Polytech in cruise control over Smyrna, 54-38. And you know what? Polytech did lose a game over the Christmas holiday in Pennsylvania, but I would love to watch the film to see what their weaknesses is and how that happened, because even without Mallory, their leading scorer, have had 4 points, and they won by 16. They get into you defensively, very well coached, and it must be noted that they have the best student section around. Yeah, I said it. And not like a lot of other teams that lay it up on you. These guys in a fast break, Spencer, they are going to throw it down on you.
That's what I'm saying. Watch out below. I tell you what, Paulie, I mean, they're not just the best team in the Henlopen. They are clearly the best team on Delmarva, if you ask me for my money.
Yeah.
I mean, coming in, I thought Smyrna was the last team that had any sort of a chance to kind of give them a run for their money. Another tough loss, though. I mean, they can't seem to get this figured out for the Panthers. They are just so good right now. Plus Smyrna, you know, a tough one on Dover on Monday, and it puts them now 3 games back of Paulie. Plus the Panthers have the tiebreaker. I mean, this thing is basically wrapped up already with 2 weeks left.
It's done.
It's from what are the fork in it? I mean, they are done at this point. And a big Henlopen South finally happened this match when we finally got to see Laurel take on Delmar in the game that everybody was waiting to see, and not an empty seat in the joint for this one. And they got to see an instant classic here. Chucky August going to work for the Dogs, gets the rack there for 2 of his team high 16. The Wildcats were down 2 now with under 2 minutes of play before KJ Trader was going off for the Wildcats. Gets the bucket plus the harm right there. But here we go. Laurel up 2 with 30 seconds left before Gary Warren loses the ball. That's a backcourt violation, gives it to the Cats. Shane Leatherbury gets fouled, go into the rack, goes the line for 1-and-1, misses the front end, but take a look off of a Bulldogs player. Clearly Laurel turns the ball over, and Delmar gets one last chance. Still down 2 with 3 seconds left. Trader for the miracle 3. That close, but it is off the mark. Laurel survives an absolute thriller, 56-54 the final. So I got to say, after the game here, I was at the one and got to interview Coach Phillips and some of his squad. And
I know he let you know about it.
Oh, he did. He did. He also let me know that apparently, can you get this? Last week when I talked about how they hadn't played anyone yet, he put that on a loop and let his whole team get to see this. Let them know that I was really saying that they were Doug and Delmar and stuff, which, humbling. I mean, he's right. It's a very humbling experience, and I got not much to say about it. I mean, you know what, Coach? Congratulations. You earned this one. I tell you what, though, they are now in the driver's seat of the South. A tight ball game. We still got to look forward to them playing one more time here down the wire. But I tell you what, this is just Laurel's MO, isn't it? They just grind on you, just wear you down throughout the game, and eventually, it may be not the prettiest basketball you've seen, but it produces wins, and that's enough.
It is, man. And how about the defensive effort, holding Larry Ennis to just 9 points all year long? We've heard from people, including you, that Laurel hadn't played anybody. And for me, when I saw them at the Christmas tournament, competing with 3 and 4A teams from Maryland, I thought they'd be all right. Don't forget, these 2 teams are back at it again on the 19th, and we can't wait for that one.
Oh, so you knew it all along.
I knew it all along. All along, baby. From Delaware on to Maryland, my alma mater, also the #1 ranked team in my power rankings. Coincidence. The Wahai Indians hosted the Washington Jaguars in a Bayside South Classic clash, a familiar scene over these past couple weeks. Nelson Brown with the fade. Sweet Nell has been turning it on here lately, but you know the Jags, they like to run it. There's their man at Shakur Cotman, Washington's leader with the layup, plus the contact, cuts the lead. Wahai coming right back with it. Torrey Brittingham driving baseline and finds a goat. Yep, Lionel Batson, 13 big points here is where it got good. Wahai up 3, and point guy looked like he felt the spirit on that one. Montrez Oliver gets the steal, takes it all the way, gets the contact, +1 to tie the game up with 1 minute left. But Blue and Gold asking, what can Brown do for you? Boy, this kid is in contention for the best week ever. 35 points from Nelson as Y-High holds on 83 to 78, and they are really turning it on at the right time, completing season sweeps of Polytech last week and Washington this week, something no other team in the Bayside will be able to say they did. And look, they look so thin in the beginning of the year, but when you have Brown playing the way he is and Brittingham controlling the game the way he does, and others contributing like they do, they're a very tough team to stop.
Yeah, I mean, you don't talk about a team that's finding the groove right now. Torrey Brittingham this week, too, had his first career triple-double against Snow Hill. I mean, they are getting production across the board. On top of that, you look at some guys, I mean, we talked about what Brown is doing. He found his shooting touch, and if this guy's hitting from the outside, there is not a person, there's not a way you can stop him because he's just too big, too strong once he starts going to the hole. They got Lionel Batson finally going down low. You get any kind of production from this guy, he can totally change the aspect of the game with that height, that length, and I tell you what, they are really starting to peak, and it's right at the right time. Getting ready to close out the Bayside here. I mean, now they take down, you know, Washington there. As for Washington, again, this may put the end to any hopes they had at trying to take that Bayside conference because they are now sitting, I think, just too far back.
They're too far back right now.
Well, sticking in Salisbury, we got to see Bennett versus Parkside take two this week as the crosstown rivals took the court on Tuesday night. Early on this one, Dejor Diggs finds Keontae Kelly down low who puts it in. He finished in double figures at 10. The Clippers would make this thing interesting, though. They're playing without Jordan Duffy, and you knew they had to have some guys step up, and they did. Michael Jean Charles hits that three there, and then the very next possession, it's Tyke Young pulling up from the land of plenty, and he buries that one as well. But the Rams would put this thing away. Gaynor here gets to the rack, scores it for two. It was a two-point ball game in the fourth. That's right, a two-point ball game. But the Rams, as they seem to do, would pull it out 80-71. And tell you what, we've been talking about these teams. They continue to puzzle me. It's the same thing for both of them. I mean, Parkside, they seem to always play against whoever they are playing against. I mean, they never play up to competition. They never seem to really bury teams, and they always find themselves in a tight ball game. Without Jordan Duffy, there's no reason this shouldn't have been about a 20-point game with the Rams winning, and yet it's a 2-point game that they could have lost, but they find a way to win, and a lot of it has to do because the Clippers find a way to lose games. They continually fall in their own face, and, you know, reports are right now that L.J. Carter's out indefinitely after breaking a team rule. I mean, it is a cause of concern. They can't seem to figure out how to just kind of get out of their own way.
They can't, but with the guys they had, I will say that it was a very good effort by Bennett at least, and they didn't give up. Coach Sullivan and Coach Mills had a couple guys up from JV looking to fill the void left by Duffy. And, of course, nobody in that school we know, Spencer, maybe nobody in the conference can fill in what he's been able to do for that team this year. The Clippers' plan, I guess, is to coast into the playoffs, hopefully, and get their guy back sometime soon.
If that happens, I mean, they could upset some people in the playoffs. It'll be interesting if he does get back, you know, how that works out for him. Well, it's time for our first commercial break, but coming up next, what else? It is more high school hoops, a big one in Dagsboro Thursday night as IR took on Milford. Keep it right here.
I'm Shawan Sykes, Sussex Tech guard, and you're watching the Marvel Sports Insider.